Hello everyone, my name is Clara and probably you have access knowing where you are, but if not, I am the owner of this channel, The Ink Path, where I talk about books in English and in Spanish. And obviously you're in an English kind of review. This is a spoiler-free review, don't worry. But if you want to know more or if you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up and you can subscribe as well. Please, if you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell so YouTube knows when you want to be notified that I upload a new video. I normally post on Fridays, but lately I've been posting here and there, so it's going to be a little bit of a surprise really. If you are new, hi, I hope you enjoy this content, but if you are part of my little family, I hope you enjoy it as well. I've missed you and I promise I will post a video weekly as I always say I would do it. But today we are going to focus our attention on Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. Let's start. I read Good Omens using my ebook. It was an experimental read for me because although I love Neil Gaiman's storytelling process and imagination and way of writing, I've never read a Terry Pratchett book before, and I thought this compendium with Gaiman, this story shared with Gaiman, would be an amazing start, to say the least. And I wasn't wrong. So I'm going to talk about what Good Omens is about and why I like it and why it was difficult for me as a non-native English speaking person. I hope I said that right. Okay, Good Omens tells the story of Aziraphale and Crowley, who are respectively an angel and a demon, and we are talking here about the biblical sense of the world. They are two sides of a upcoming war that projects, or it is told that it's going to be the end of the world. They belong to different sides, of course. Aziraphale is supposed to be by the side of God with the angels, and Crowley is a demon, so he belongs to Satan, kind of part of the battle side. Having said that, they both work with the humans. They work on Earth, helping out in certain pivotal points of history, and they love being on Earth. They love the human world and what it offers for them. So when the end of the world, the proper end of the world is set, like a proper date, they start to panic because they don't want the Earth to finish. They don't know what is going to be next, but they love the Earth and they don't want to lose it and lose the human aspect of the Earth for several reasons. And alongside with that, they discover that when the Armageddon is about to begin, somehow 10 years ago, when the son of Satan was born, they misplaced him. They don't know where the rightful heir of the hell is, and Armageddon involves him somehow. So they have to find him. They have to find him and try to solve this kind of upcoming war that is about to start, and they don't want to face that. So they resolve that if they find the child and convince him not to stop the war, everything will be alright. This is only like the surface of the story, but it's what ignites it properly. I loved this book. I find it really interesting, and I love it because even though there are several characters involved in this plot, as I said, I think it's a very satirical, interesting and comedy way of approaching a fantasy story. and I love how the both main characters, Aziraphale and Crowley, are placed. I love how they are built up, and I love the bond that they share, even though they are in opposite sides. Even though they say several times that they are not friends, they actually are. I love that, and I love how the other secondary characters that are important in this kind of big portrait or big landscape of the world interact with these two main characters in very unexpected. Well, as I said before, I love the aspect of the bond between the main characters, but I want to highlight something that I find really interesting, as you may notice already. For the main characters and the plot, this deals with a lot of biblical stuff, biblical mentions of the events that are about to happen in this kind of final war, and also what happened before according to the original text. But I love how both authors managed to give it a twist, normally a very satirical twist regarding what happened or what is about to happen, and why they were, in this case, Aziraphale and Crowley, involved in certain events according to religion. Normally the religion leaves them out of the story, but they, through anecdotes and stuff like that, they insert themselves in these kind of biblical episodes, such as Eve and the apple, for example. And I really like that. I found it really funny and very kind of whimsical, if you want. Things that I love as well about it is that, in my case, I read it in English, so I don't know how the Spanish translation works, but in the original text, I find that all these fantastical biblical events and plot devices that they are used, they are all mixed with the English and British kind of culture, like not folklore and stuff, but original kind of ordinary life culture, like having tea and buying kind of normal food and stuff like that. I've lived in England for almost 2 years, and I don't live in England anymore, but I miss it really badly. And most of the times, whenever I see, it's really funny, because whenever I see something that is related to what I used to buy in this place, I compulsorily buy it. Normally I'm regarding to food and stuff like that, but it's really funny to see this kind of, I don't know, when they talk about certain food or the idea of having tea and stuff like that. I miss that really badly. So this kind of Easter eggs about being very British and all, and also applying that to a very globalized conflict, that at the end of the day, this kind of final war is about to happen everywhere, but we are focusing ourselves in the UK. So everything is very British in a really interesting way. It's a little bit like Doctor Who, I find. When you watch a Doctor Who episode, for example, and you have the aliens and stuff like that, somehow you always end up with this kind of fantastical, in this case sci-fi event or element surrounded by or influenced by the UK culture, because Doctor Who uses a lot of UK ordinary life references alongside the fantastical or sci-fi element of the story. This is a little bit like that, and I love it. Regarding the English as well, I find that for a Spanish and native person, therefore what I know about English and what I understand, and I know how to express myself, I did it through learning the language and practicing and living abroad. I also found this book a little bit hard, in the sense that although there were a lot of references to the culture, to the British culture that I understood because I share it for a while, I also find that there are elements of it and jokes about it that maybe I wasn't so connected or I didn't understood completely, because I find that, as I said before, the novel works very well and uses satirical elements very well because it's grounded in the proper British culture and surrounding and using British culture as a catalyst for what is about to come. But sometimes those references were missing for me because either they weren't explained to me in my academic background or in my living experience and I was missing out on the joke, or because there were certain words that even I managed to write and to read very, very often in English. But there are sometimes when I find books that are particularly hard, either because the level of English is very ancient compared with the English that I talk, or because I find the vocabulary really hard. In this case, it was the second case, the second option that I find in here. Not constantly, but I remember when I was reading about the children that are involved in this story, sometimes they use a very particular vocabulary or mispronounce words that I could more or less guess what they were referring actually, but this kind of known kind of misinterpretation of the things work very well if you are very invested in a language or if you completely understand the language. Therefore, I was missing out, as I said. Sometimes they were very few, but I find it hard. I feel like if I read this in Spanish and I read the proper translations to those inside jokes or mispronunciation or problematic assumptions that were resulted or that resulted in jokes or satirical comparisons out of the purpose, out of the culture and the, in this case, age of the characters, I would have laughed a lot, because I normally laugh a lot, but in this case, because I am not an English native speaker, there were some times in which I was a little bit disconnected from the story. Very, very few, but they were there. So this is it. This is the review I wanted to bring you today, and I hope that from next week onwards I can give you more content, not only related to reviews. The last thing I have to tell you is that I really want to see the TV adaptation that is about to start of Good Omens, with my favorite actor as one of the main characters. That's of course David Tennant as Crowley. Other than that, I wish you a very happy week, and I see you next week for that matter. Because this book is actually my first Terry Pratchett book. If you have any other books by him that you want to recommend me, you can do it and leave me the titles in the comment section down below. I hope you can tell me what you thought about the review, or if you have read the book, what is the elements that you love the most about it. Bye!